everybody. We're back for part 2. All right, when we last read, Lee had written a big, long list of questions to Dear Mr. Henshaw, and on the next part, we get his response. So as I read this, I want you to think about how you're getting to know Lee from his responses. This is interesting because it's not directly stated. We are getting Lee's mind, what he thinks, directly because he's writing to someone else. So it's an interesting perspective. I want you to think about what we learn from Lee from his answers to Mr. Henshaw's questions. And we're going to continue working on his character traits. You're going to learn a lot about Lee in this section, and that's what I'm going to be asking you to write about when you're done today. Okay? All right. November 15th, Dear Mr. Henshaw, at first I was pretty upset when I didn't get an answer to my letter in time for my report, but I worked it out okay. I read what it said about you on the back of Ways to Amuse a Dog and wrote real big on every other line, so I filled up the paper. On the paper it said you lived in Seattle, so I didn't know you had moved to Alaska, although I should have guessed from Moose on Toast. When your letter finally came, I didn't want to read it to the class because I didn't think Miss Martinez would like silly answers, like your real name is Messing A. Round, and you don't have kids because you don't raise goats. She said I had to read it. The class laughed and Miss Martinez smiled, but she didn't smile when I came to the part about your favorite animal was a purple monster who ate children who sent authors long lists of questions for reports instead of learning to use the library. Your writing tips were okay. I could tell you meant what you said. Don't worry. When I write something, I won't send it to you. I understand how busy you are with your own books. I hid the second page of your letter from Miss Martinez. That list of questions you sent me to answer really made me mad. Nobody else's author put in a list of questions to be answered, and I don't think it's fair to make me do more work when I already wrote a report. Anyway, thank you for answering my questions. Some kids didn't get any answers at all, which made them mad, and one girl almost cried. She was so afraid she would get a bad grade. One boy got a letter from an author who sounded real excited about getting a letter and wrote such a long answer the boy had to write a long report. He guessed nobody ever wrote to that author before. He sure wouldn't again. How about 10 kids wrote to the same author who wrote one answer to all of them? There was a big argument about who got to keep it until Miss Martinez took the letter to the office and copied it. About those questions you sent me, I'm not going to answer them and you can't make me. You're not my teacher. Yours truly, Lee Botts. P.S. When I asked you what the title of your next book was going to be, you said, "Who knows?" Did you mean that was the title? Or you really don't know what the title will be? And do you really write books because you have read every book in the library? Because writing beats mowing the lawn or shoveling snow? November 16th. Dear Mr. Henshaw, Mom found your letter and your list of questions, which I was dumb enough to leave lying around. We had a big argument. She says I have to answer your questions because authors are working people, like anyone else. And if you took time to answer my questions, I should answer yours. She says I can't go through life expecting everyone to do everything for me. She used to say the same thing to Dad when he left his socks on the floor. Well, I gotta go now. It's bedtime. Maybe I'll get around to answering your 10 questions. Maybe I won't. There isn't any law that says I have to. Maybe I won't even read more of your books. Disgusted reader, Lee Botts. P.S. If my dad was here, he would tell you to go climb a tree. There's a picture of Lee. November 20th. Dear Mr. Henshaw, my mom is nagging me about your dumb old questions. She says if I really want to be an author, I should follow the tips in your letter. I should read, look, listen, write, and think. She says the best way she knows for me to get started is to apply the seat of my pants to a chair and answer your questions and answer them fully. So here goes. Who are you? Like I've been telling you, I'm Lee Botts, Lee Marcus Botts. I don't like Lee for a name because some people don't know how to say it and think it's a girl's name. Mom says with a last name like Bots. I need something fancy, but not too fancy. My dad's name is Bill, and my mom's name is Bonnie. She says Bill and Bonnie Bots sounds like something out of a comic strip. I'm just a plain boy. This school doesn't say I'm gifted and talented, and I don't like soccer very much the way everybody at this school is supposed to. I am not stupid either. Question 2. What do you look like? I already sent you my picture, but maybe you lost it. I'm sort of medium. I don't have red hair or anything like that. I'm not real big like my dad. My mom says I take after her family, thank goodness. That's the way she always says it. In first and second grades, kids used to call me Lee the Flea, but I've grown. Now when the class lines up according to height, I'm in the middle. I guess you could call me the mediumest boy in the class. This is hard work. To be continued. Maybe. Lee Bots. I think that sentence right there, I guess you could call me the mediumest boy in the class. I think that's a pretty important sentence. It tells us a lot about how he's feeling about himself. It tells us a lot about his self-esteem. So when you're answering today's discussion board question, think about what that means, to be the mediumest boy in the class. Couple more pages. November 22nd. Dear Mr. Henshaw, I wasn't going to answer any more of your questions, but Mom won't get the TV repaired because she says it's rotting my brain. This is Thanksgiving vacation. I'm so bored I decided to answer a couple of more of your rotten questions with my rotten brain. Joke. Number 3. What is your family like? Since Dad and Bandit went away, my family is just Mom and me. We all used to live in a mobile home outside of Bakersfield, which is in California's Great Central Valley. We studied about in school. When Mom and Dad got divorced, they sold the mobile home and Dad moved into a trailer. Dad drives a big truck, a cab-over job. That means the cab is over the engine. Some people don't know that. The truck is why my parents got divorced. Dad used to drive for someone else, hauling stuff like cotton, sugar beets, and other produce around Central California and Nevada, but he couldn't get owning his own rig for cross-country hauling out of his head. He worked practically night and day and saved a down payment. Mom said we'd never get out of that mobile home when he had to make such big payments on that rig. She'd never know where he was when he hauled cross-country. His big rig sure is a beauty, with a bunk in the cab and everything. His rig, which truckers call a tractor and everyone else calls a truck, has 10 wheels, 2 in the front and 8 in the back, so he can hitch up anything: flatbeds, refrigerated vans, a couple of gondolas. In school they teach you that a gondola is some kind of boat in Italy, but in the U.S. it is a container for hauling loose stuff like carrots. My hand is all worn out from all this writing, but I try and treat Mom and Dad the same, so I'll get to Mom next time. Your pooped reader, Lee Bots. November 23rd. Dear Mr. Henshaw, why should I call you dear when you are the reason I'm stuck with all this work? It wouldn't be fair to leave out Mom, so here's question 3, continued. Mom works part-time for Catering by Katie, which is run by a real nice lady Mom knew when she was growing up in Taft, California. Katie says all women who grew up in Taft had to be good cooks because they went to so many potluck suppers. Mom and Katie and some other ladies make fancy food for weddings and parties. They also bake cheesecake and apple strudel for restaurants. Mom is a good cook. I sure wish she would do it more at home, though, like the mother in Mousse on Toast. Almost every day, Katie gives Mom something good to put in my school lunch. Mom also takes a couple of courses at the community college. She wants to be an LVN, which means Licensed Vocational Nurse. They help real nurses, except they don't stick needles in people. She is almost always home when I get home from school. Your ex-friend, Lee Bots. All right. So we know a little bit about his mom and his dad and his situation. And when you go to your discussion board, you're going to add on those thoughts. Tell what you really think of Lee Bots and what do you think he's struggling with? Because he doesn't seem to be the happiest kid. More later.